Hello everyone! So, here we are for a new video. You might be wondering, where the hell is the banner review? I'm not uploading it. I'm not. There's nothing to the banner worth mentioning. Like, if you want me to give you a quick review, quick summary of my thoughts about the banner, here it is. Ryoma is a slightly better Shigure, but seasonal, so not worth it. His weapon is good in combo with Shield Pulse and Quicken Pulse for miracle shenanigans. Attack depth solo is pretty solid. Next, Sakura is a good weapon in a good C skill, but when it comes down to a unit, she's just a worse Mia. Halloween Mia, of course. Elise has a slightly unique stat spread because we don't have many red ranged unit. Period. As a matter of fact, she's only the second one, and the first one did not have a speed stat, so that makes her fairly decent. She's probably the best unit of the banner, but other than this, I guess you could say she's the 15th user of Swiss Barrow. Ain't that great? Next up is Inoka. Inoka is a really good weapon. Her weapon is really good for Kaze. Kaze can combo it with No C Disrupt, and then becomes the ultimate Veronica counter, as well as Dragon Killer. And also her C skill is pretty neat, just kind of difficult and awkward to use, but other than that, fairly decent. It's basically giving aerobatics to other people, to a more restrictive degree. The problem is that we're getting aerobatics as a seal soon, so I wouldn't go out of my way for it. Well, it gives life formation as well, so I guess there's that, but other than this, very iffy. But yeah, that's the banner. Extremely OP, isn't it? I'm glad it's only a Fates banner that's this ruined and this, like, clearly not given a shit about, because it's Fates. Let's be honest, we are overexposed to Fate, and I feel like, considering, you know, the voice actor of Camilla is on maternity leave, I feel like it only makes sense, right? That because of said maternity leave, this banner has been maybe, a year old, and they were just like, you know what, we need to get rid of this, so we will, I guess. Here's the scraps. We won't give too much of a shit about them, because we all know everyone's sick of them, but whatever, right? And that's the banner. Now, we're here for the Tempest Trial and GHB tier list update, so let's get started. Here's Camilla in all of her why the fuck do you exist glory. And, well, admittedly, she's not that bad. Ouch Pouch is just miracle shenanigan fodder, I guess. I honestly would not fodder her for this. What I would fodder her for is old flyers. Yes, we finally have fodder for it, and it's one of the characters people despise the most. Yeah! Attack Speed 2 is actually a really good A skill. I do wish it would be in the pool down the line, because Attack Speed 2 would be a decent second option to Fury, yeah. But, oh well. Another unit has it at 5-star, just like Nephany. Great. But yeah, Own Flyers is pretty welcomed, and her stat spread is actually not bad. As a matter of fact, well, once you merge her, she goes from 33-35 to 35-36. So, for reference, Air has 32-37, so Camilla becomes basically an attack plus Air for free. Absolutely free. Oh, and can do more. Much more than Air can. Air has the problem of having no defense or no HP, and then you combine both of them. So when she has to deal with DC, she typically gets one shot. Now, Air is a pretty good unit in A for Raids. Outside of A for Raids, she's... it really depends on the situation kind of character. But in A for Raid, she's like one of the best counter you have to Ophelia, to, I guess, Veronica. Like, quite a few characters you can just tank and kill. If they're mages, they're not doing shit to Air. But That's just it. If you're dealing with a mode that doesn't have always mages, well, yeah, Aether Raid always has mages. Always. The maps that don't have mages are like once every 50,000 times. And the worst part is also dragons are also fairly common. She deals with dragons pretty well. So she's basically in her element in Aether Raid, and she always have bonus. However, if you go out of there, well, she's definitely not that great. As a matter of fact, if she has to deal with DC, that's typically a one-shot, even with 45 flyer. 55 defense is not enough. And to add insult to injury, Camilla can run Fury, Air can't. Now, I know what some of you will say. No, she totally can. The problem is her dagger. Her dagger makes her take damage if she's over all of HP. And another thing that makes her take damage would be Fury. Mystic Boost only heals for 6, which means you are always at a deficit of 4 health. Which means you can't use the dagger that often, can you, anymore? So, because of this, you lose the 4 attack, 4 speed the dagger provides, and then you become completely worse than Camilla. So what happens is that you are extremely restrained. Air is not bad by any stretch, but if you take off her dagger, she's just a worse Camilla once Camilla gets merged to +1. So yeah, that's rough, isn't it? But to add insult to injury, Camilla has a grand total of 6 more physical bulk. I pointed this out on my review of Air when she was out, but Air cannot take anything like DC, but Camilla here can, to some extent. Especially if you +1 her, she has 40 health and 17 def, with 45 flyers, that's 63 bulk, to a point where you don't need Mystic Boost to deal with dragons anymore, so you have your B slot open, and you don't need Mystic Boost for your weapon to even work. So that means you can run any kind of weapon of your choice and still do fairly well. This means Barb Shuriken is not out of the question, and it just gives you so much more options. Lefreyaburg, I think it's called, is not a bad weapon, it's just very restrictive is the problem. When she is going to be dealing with mages, she's going to be fantastic. But typically, this is the way I describe both. Air is the best unit of the two if you're going to be using her in Aether Raids. However, if you're using her everywhere else, Camilla tends to be better unless you have a tank that could really use Sparkling Boost. For example, if I use Rid in conjunction with Air, having Hair around is fantastic to heal him back up so he can keep up the good fight, keep his HP high enough for a seal to work. Freezing Seal, I believe. And yeah, it just gives him more options in general. So yeah, compared to Kagero, I would say it's really up to you, and it depends also on what kind of IVs you have on Kagero. Because for example, if you have a Speed Plus Kagero, you just have a better Camilla, right? But if you have like neutral, attack minus, speed minus, those types of IVs, or def minus for that matter, yeah, no. Because def minus actually hurts her bulk by 4. And that's a big drop. Res minus is obviously the ideal bane for her, but at this point it's like, if you have HP minus or def minus, it's really bad. If you have attack minus or speed minus, you're just worse offensively than Camilla. So, unless you have a +1 merged with like a good boon, Camilla will do you better. Yeah, that's kind of just what it is, isn't it? So, it's kind of funny too, because Game Press keeps saying, Air is just better in every way, but they just don't see the bigger picture. It's actually painful to read. I was reading some of their comments because I typically do whenever I work on a video for this for comparisons, so if they actually bring a point that's worth mentioning, it can kind of help. Guess what? They never fucking do that. Not anymore. There used to be a time where I was actually like, oh yeah, that's a fair point here and there, but oh well. bad habits die hard, huh? Anyway. So, here's a typical set. You can use Brazens or you can use Fury, both of which are fairly decent. You can actually go whatever you want with the weapon. Death Refine can be really good if you want to have 30 defense, 38 res. Or you could go a res refine so you can actually use ploys. It really is up to you. And if you don't use her in a flyer team, obviously ploys will do you better. So, yeah, it's pretty basic. When it comes down to archers, to bow unit, well, archers, bows, that's the same thing, but archer, daggers, those types of things, they don't have a million type of set, which is kind of a shame, but here we are. So, you know, if you run Fury with a res refine, you're looking at 38 res, which means you're ploying even Surtur, unless he's res plus or run something like Fortress Def res. Just thought it was worth mentioning. So, yeah. And also, at this point, you don't really need the speed if you run Fury, so you could go just a Def or Res Refine. Either way is fine. But, yeah. Let's move on. Here's where I put Camilla myself. She's basically a slightly worse Cecilia, because Cecilia has a good Def growth. Def growth? What the fuck am I saying? Def stat. God damn it, Jay. I know you played FE7 yesterday, but you should not fuck it up that hard. So, yeah. I also fixed the tier list. This is about as right as it could be. Placement-wise. So, yay! But yeah, that's basically it. There's not much else to say here. Camilla is S-. Obviously, Cecilia will do you better, but Cecilia also requires more important fodder. For example, special fighter, obviously, bold fighter especially, and vengeful fighter if you want her to be more like a bulk machine. All of those are very fantastic options, so yeah, it's worth mentioning, I suppose. So yeah, not much else to say here. Hope you enjoyed. This was short, but there's really not much else to say. If we had refined that were actually GHB, that would actually not be the case, but, you know. Here we are. Have a nice one, everyone.